Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Yvonne Priest Show 8-Bit, where we will be talking to people who contributed to some of the best movies of our childhoods. And today we are talking to the king of the babysitter movies, Keith Coogan. Keith, thank you so much for being on the show.
You used my official title. I love it.
That's
King
what
of the
you are.
Babysitter Movies. Oh my God. Oh my, thank you. Thank you. And a pleasure to be on, Yvonne. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Like, I know that you've been quite busy with doing some festivals and stuff, and you recently just had a reunion with your castmates from Adventures of Babysitting. What was it like getting everyone in the room again?
It was like it was 1987 all over again, which was the last time five of us were together. Vincent D'Onofrio, Elizabeth Shue, Anthony Rapp, my little sister, Maya Bruton, and myself. And I turned back into Brad. I turned back into the 17-year-old, just like ogling Elizabeth Shue and being scared of Vincent D'Onofrio, or at least intimidated. He's so imposing of a figure. It was amazing. There's some great my wife, Pinky, she does better with the media and everything like that. I posted a video of us seeing each other for the first time. We peeked through the curtain. Elizabeth Shue was sitting next to Vincent, and me and Anthony and Maya were far away in another hall. And then they brought us over on a break, and it was amazing. It was magical.
Oh, that sounds so good. Because when I got to see everyone, I was kind of missing the Thor helmet though, which I was a bit kind of disappointed it wasn't there. But is it a big thing to see people with Thor helmets at conventions because of that movie?
We have seen cosplay from Sarah to Dawson and the whole babysitting crew. Maya Bruton does have someone who 3D prints the little Thor helmets. They're
Oh,
little
wow.
ones that she'll sign. And she has a helmet left from production that's a real and Maya asked to tell this because I don't want to step her on her jam, but she said there was a tape because they were custom. They weren't, you couldn't just go buy this Thor helmet.
Mhm.
They had to paste these like Pegasus wings on the side of a helmet. So they had hot glue guns and spray paint, silver and everything, and on a table of them lined up, and they'd break or fall apart or whatever. And so Maya has one, a real Thor helmet from the film.
Oh, wow. I'm kind of jealous. I kind of want one. But apart from doing the cosplay, you guys seem to really recreate the movie poster, which is such an iconic poster.
Yeah, we were doing an Alamo Draft House tour with Adventures of Babysitting, and they first up had this huge vinyl backdrop, and it was turned sideways, and the Adventures of Babysitting was sideways. I'm like, what? It was like the old Batman TV serials with climbing up the side of the building, but just turned it sideways and everything. And they gave us the backdrop at the end. We've been using it at autograph conventions. Really fun photo op. We love getting celebrities like David Thornton Howard, Terrifier, the Art the Clown from Terrifier, to climbing up the rope with us, to Al and the Tool Time Girl from Home Improvement, and just fun pictures of other celebs doing the Adventures of Babysitting building climb.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun to see that film influence other celebrities as well. That is so cool. I didn't realize that bit. That's amazing.
Where did we go? There was an actress that we wanted to meet, and she said she was a huge fan of what Don't Tell Mom Babysitter Dead or something like that. So you never know. I fanboy all the time. I fanboy with people I work with. We'll go to autograph conventions or Q&As for like Emmy events when the actors and actresses are trying to win an Emmy. They'll throw these events and show the thing and then do Q&As and then come out and schmooze and take pictures of everyone and all fanboy out. It's interesting when someone fanboys back on me. It's crazy, especially if they're a younger generation, because they don't have a nostalgia
Yeah.
of watching this when it came out. It's been something playing on cable or whatever, or streamers for them. So I love it. I love that Curtis Armstrong, Booker, on Revenge of the Nerds, he said there's two levels of luck. First level, you get a job as an actor. You're playing in a sandbox. They're paying you money to make believe. Second level of luck is there a 30-year anniversary? Is there a Blu-ray? Is there cast reunions or remakes? And that's a whole nother. And in the 80s, there were less studio films. There weren't all the streaming content. There was a regular, TV series, but series and films were really different and distinct. And physical media. In the 80s, we also got VHS. We got to hold the movie and read the cover and take out the tape and please be kind and rewind.
Yeah.
And laser discs and DVDs. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter had a particularly large DVD release, $1 million ad campaign with babysitter legs sticking up in the store. And it was one of the first huge releases on DVD. I think it was released on DVD before VHS.
That one's actually out of print here in Australia, so it's actually really expensive if you can find it on eBay in Australia. It's like people make bank on that particular release. Yeah.
We have heard, and this is all hearsay, and that we've heard from Australian fans that said, people don't really talk about Australia in the movies. They'll cut us out of historical stuff. US films just like breeze over Australia, but Don't Tell Mom, it's a plot point. The mom runs away to Australia with a sheep herder for 2 months, and it's so there's a little cult following. I love that.
I like the fact that it wasn't a case of she went to Sydney and then you have to see the Opera House, because we're more than just that building, you know what I mean? So it was good.
Right.
Yeah. But with, Don't Tell Mum the Babysitter's Dead, that one just in the beginning of the 90s was just such a phenomenon, even here in Australia. And I love the fact that at conventions you sign dishes. I think that is so cool.
Thank you. I had a friend, my first autograph convention where I met my wife. She wasn't a fan of me. She was there to see somebody else. But a friend of mine who I worked with, he came and he came up to the table and he's like, dude, and he's hiding something. And he pulls out a blue side dish salad plate. And he goes, do you think you could sign this? Dishes are done, man. And I'm like, of course, that's a great idea. And he goes, you should sell those at your table. And we have sold them at every autograph. I sell them online, Keith Coogan online.com. That for some reason, here's the thing. When the movie came out, they did a week straight of TV ads. Go see the babysitter and then Christina Applegate and everything. And the last line of the trailer was, dishes are done, man. You didn't even have to see the movie to know the line. So we learned it from the soup kitchen guy, Seinfeld, Larry, right? What's his name?
Yeah.
Larry. Oh. He was signing soup ladles. No soup for you.
Yeah.
He'd sign it. And he goes, if you have a thing, a genie bottle. Larry Thomas. Yes, thank you. He said he did 2 episodes of Seinfeld. His soup episode and the finale where they were on trial.
Yeah.
And he's so famous from just, an episode of Seinfeld. So if you have a thing you can sign or whatever, we go to conventions next to Patrick Renna. You're killing me, Smalls. And he signs baseballs. How easy.
Yeah. Or you're so cool.
And no, fans love it. And if we have dishes left over, we're traveling. We use nice, solid porcelain like dishes, ceramic or whatever. We'll sign the rest and leave them for the volunteers. So go volunteer to Keith Coogan autograph. Maybe you'll get a dish. I don't know. It's random.
So with Adventures in Babysitting, that was your first on-screen feature. So apart from being the first one to do, you had Chris Columbus being your director. How did that feel? Was that intimidating?
I had already seen Goonies, Gremlins, Young Sherlock Holmes. I'd read for Goonies and Gremlins. Didn't get them. Feldman. But I got Adventures in Babysitting. It was a long process from interview to callbacks to screen tests, mixing and matching. Okay, replace the little sister. All right, replace the babysitter. All right, get a different. I got to see Phoebe Cates and Valerie Bernelli read the first scene at the door with the boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
Nah, chicken soup. She's sick. And Lisa, which Elizabeth Shue, because it's Elizabeth with an S, she said, cool kids call me Lisa. So Lisa, love you, but Phoebe Cates, I'm coming. I had seen Fast Time at Ridgemont High. I was rooting for Phoebe Cates. I even convinced my mom, go to lunch. She asked her mom, and we all went to Sizzler. And I ate lunch with Phoebe Cates. Winner, right here.
Oh, wow.
And then I was really devious. I brought my Apple IIc, which was portable computer, 13-inch deep CRT monitor. But I set it up in the casting office and loaded one-on-one Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. And it was a computer game. And I backed up. All the kids ran to it. And I went and studied my lines in the corner. So, and we mixed and matched to the point where me and Anthony Rapp swapped. I auditioned for Daryl. He auditioned for Brad. We read a bit of the subway scene, and when we're walking along the Riverwalk scene, they did a lot of rewrites. Our script had a very different ending than what we shot. We did a bunch of rehearsals. They rewrote and took out some of the more. At the end, they had. It was Sarah's toy box was confused with a box of plutonium that the mob was after.
Yeah.
And it ended on a chase on the Chicago Bridge, or a bridge over the Chicago River. And I'm like, did you guys see Annie? Directed by John Huston. Big flop. They rewrote it to be the Playboy magazine and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that was 2 weeks of rehearsals, which you don't get a lot in feature. Usually it's, hi, here's so-and-so, shoot the love scene. But I just met him.
Yeah.
So there's a real chance to build a relationship, let the characters echo who we were. And I really have to thank Chris Columbus, because during the casting process, at one point, Disney, who I'd have a history with, a couple of TV shows and series and pilots and Fox and the Hound, Disney said, not Keith. Whoa, tough. And maybe they had their eye on somebody else. I don't know, but Chris Columbus went to bat for me. And he said, no, I think Keith's my Brad. So thank you, Chris.
Wow. Yeah, go Chris.
I owe all of the movies that weren't as good as Adventures Babysitting that I did after to you. Thank you. Because it really did. It had a heart. He was a great director. He knew. He didn't talk down to kids. He came and he was a kid with us, if that makes sense.
That does. No, that's great. You know, because I have heard great things about him as a director, so that's really nice to actually see that it's not a case of they've said it to be nice; they've said it because it's actually true. But that's fantastic. So with Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, you recently just had the remake that you appeared in, and you also had Paris that was in there too. How did it feel to see something your second Babysitter movie get remade?
Well, they had remade Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah.
And it was on a Disney Channel original movie. It was their 100th Disney Channel movie. And we went to the premiere. And it was, it was for a different audience. The head of Disney Channel said, I have an 8-year-old girl. And I really love Adventures in Babysitting. I wanted to share it with her, but I can't. The language and stuff. And so they made it a G-rated version. Madam Age and I called. I said, "Hey, I hear they're making one." They go, "Oh, they're shooting in Canada. They're not flying anybody up from LA." What? Fine. So it was fine, and they did a lot of good Easter eggs with Adventures in Babysitting. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't seen it.
Disney Channel. Yeah. So yeah, it's on Disney Plus. But Don't Tell Mom. It took 11 years. 9 after it finally got kind of in the studio system to get the remake made. It was written by Chuck Hayward, who wrote WandaVision, Dear White People, the last season of Ted Lasso. He produced that too. Great script. They changed it to a black family.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a white family living in the suburbs and a white cop comes to the door looking for a dead white babysitter, and a black family that lives in the suburbs and a white cop comes to the door looking for a dead white babysitter?
Yeah.
And it goes there. And frankly, it's a better film. Ours was camp and funny and a light little Secret of My Success, working girl kind of, comedy. But this does it also honors the original in so many ways. Number one, yes, me, Daniel Harris, Joanna Cassidy, cameos. How fun to come back and revisit that universe. But they shot at the original house. And just the plot, scene for scene, it's the original movie, but done, it's a remix. So there's a new point of view, and I think it hits different when you see yourself represented on screen. And the head of BET Plus, he goes, he wanted to make a new version, and they don't shy away from anything. It makes it a better film. And the director did a very French new wave, unchained camera, no storyboards, no shot lists. Get there, feel the scene, and great music. Oh, great music. It was a labor of love. And, it did a theatrical release. They were going to do it just for streaming. Mm-hmm. And then they saw it, and they put it in 1,000 theaters for 2 weeks. I was blown away. It was so great.
We unfortunately don't have it streaming here, but I do want to see it simply because it is a remake of that. I want to see how it went. Also, June Squibb being the babysitter. I mean, come on. I love that woman. She's so good.
Perfect casting. She's just crazy and really mean to them. You're like, I want to kill the babysitter. The first movie, you're kind of like this one, and they actually a little rougher with her body. We bump her around the skateboard, but man, they just dump her down the stairs of the new one, and then they throw her body in a lake. All right, I won't spoil anything, but they're rougher with the babysitter.
What kind of advice did you give to the new Kenny?
Wow, that's deep, because I did get to I shot the behind the scenes. We have a YouTube channel, and I put up it's Keith and Pinky's Hollywood Tales. Just look up Don't Tell Mom Babysitter Dead remake behind the scenes. And I spent a lot of time on set, and I have to tell you, they made a better movie, and they had less time, less money. We shot really quick. But with digital today, the actors go out to kind of do their thing, could have a couple cameras up. One of the funnest things was recreating the fashion show at the end over the same pool and the same stakes. And they, beat for beat, it's the same movie, but they do just enough little twists that I was pleasantly surprised. I loved it. I think we saw it 3 times.
No, that's really good.
So it might be on, if you get Paramount Plus, it might slide over to there after a while.
Actually, I'll look up that because I do have Paramount Plus here, because there are so many times people say this is streaming on Tubi, but yet we don't get it on the Australian Tubi because of licensing in regions and stuff. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I've looked up the Don't Tell Mom Babysitter Dead box office, and it doesn't list foreign. It only lists US domestic. So whoever they sold the rights to, they're not sharing the box office of around the world. And I know it's played in the UK, and there's a Japanese version called Fast Food Family. And the poster is us standing on a giant hamburger with a big Buick, and I'm playing guitar, and it's crazy. And Adventures of Babysitting was called The Night of the Town.
Yeah, I was wondering what countries actually had that title, because I remember it saying for Australia, but I'm thinking anytime I went to the video store, it was never called that. It was always Adventures in Babysitting.
Because it was at the time in the 80s when it came out, UK had a series of videos that were called Adventures In, and they were naughty. Adventures in the post office, adventures at the laundromat, adventures at the school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were naughty. They're like, think Emmanuel films, which they cut everything out here in the States. You're like, the girl went to school. What's the deal? So to not be associated with the Adventures in the Taxi Driver, Adventures in, I think that was one of them that had just come out. They changed it to A Night of the Town, and even other titles in other countries.
Oh, yeah, because I was always wondering why was that title changed, because I never saw it here in Australia. Because trust me, we rented that very, very often. It was always a staple on a Friday night. The movies was always going to be something like that. There was always Funny About Love, the Gene Wilder movie. There was always Poltergeist 3 in the house. There's always 3
Wait,
fugitives.
which Gene Wilder movie?
Funny About Love.
Ooh, I'm not familiar.
I remember the poster of him having a baby sitting on his head and the baby's holding a little alarm clock.
Was that called something else here?
It could have.
It could have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I thought I had seen every Gene Wilder picture. So you've seen that? My wife's seen it. My wife Pinky sitting right over here. She says hi. Do you say hi? Hi.
Because I follow Pinky on Instagram as well. So yes.
She's a good Instagrammer, isn't she?
She's good. Seriously, I'm gonna say this, it's gonna sound a bit kind of indulgent. Used to, honestly, couple goals. I cannot think of a single time that you guys don't seem incredibly happy in your photos. And that's amazing. And it doesn't seem forced. So many people try to fake things, and you guys just seem so genuinely happy. See, look how happy you are to think that I'm
peanut gallery over here.
But also,
you
know
look
that
at us
it's
when
true.
we travel and we're in coach and we're like, no, where's the bag? I don't know. I lost the ticket.
We're the Bickersons.
We're the Bickersons, traveling Bickersons. But we work. Look, frankly, I do like 2 acting jobs a year, which keeps me artistically satisfied, but it don't pay the bills. I work at Sony Studios. She works at Disney Studios. She's an Imagineer. I married well. Like, don't talk about that. You're fired? What? Just for saying that now? Moving on. And then we travel. We love go all over the country. We even went to Southampton. We went to no other countries. Oh, but we went to Alaska and about 30 other states on autograph conventions.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I think that's a stretch.
It's not a stretch.
I think it's a stretch.
California, Washington, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Alaska, Florida, New Jersey, Tennessee, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Say Burbank.
Didn't we do Kansas? I don't know. Burbank. Burbank's not a state, but
Didn't you California? Did you know?
I did California. And we love it. We love going to because you watch this at home. I watched, Gilligan's Island, 9-inch black and white TV, and I didn't know there was color and black and white episodes. I thought they were all black and white. But to go and meet, cast members from things that you love, voice artists or animators, comic book artists, that's the tour of the album. The album comes out, but then they got to go on the tour.
Yeah.
And, frankly, yes, they sell merchandise. So same kind of thing. And we love connecting with fans and recreating the Adventures of Babysitting poster with our backdrop.
How does it actually feel when you get a fan that approaches you and said, I showed my child this film, to know that it's getting passed down?
I mean, it's great. I don't know. There's nostalgia. Oh, we loved it when we were kids, so we love it now. And then there's objectivity. Do the kids pick it up? It's all right. Sometimes kids aren't into it. Sometimes they're really into it. And I'm like, you raised your kids well.
I have a younger sister, so I made sure she got a proper 80s movification. And there was no way I was letting her get past any staples. And
what would be your staples?
Staples is always for me, because I'm a horror fan as well. So staples is always going to be like Lost Boys, because it's horror. It's not Hellraiser, because I couldn't show her that one at all. But Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Brat Pack ones, but also the Goonies has to be in there as well. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that one's in there as well.
Ooh, good pull. Good pull.
There was something about the miniatures on the set and just making everything bigger as well, for that everyone just seems great. But I also believe you read for that as well.
Yeah, I passed it
Yeah.
up and I took the cheetah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
how do you feel about that? Did you kind of like,
name the guy that got my role in How I Shrunk the Kids.
I get your point. Because I actually, I can't remember his name.
People can't name me either, but it wouldn't have helped.
Well,
and it upped my weekly rate because I got paid. I would have been paid the same amount. When you do all right, Disney, they called. They said, don't talk financials. All right. We signed a 3-picture deal for Adventures in Babysitting. Elizabeth Shue's second picture was Cocktail. My second picture, I somehow, as a favor to Mike Fenton, the casting director for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he said, Keith, can you come in and do the kissing scene with every young ingenue in Hollywood? Mike, for you, I'll come in. So I kissed every girl in town. And they said I booked it. I'd also read for the cheetah, and I booked that. And one was name above the title and everything, and go to Africa. And it was 5-week shoot. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was ensemble, a lot of effects, and shooting in Mexico City for 6 months.
oh, wow.
The contract said you get paid X amount of dollars for your second picture. They've already negotiated your trailer, your billing, everything. So I took the 5-week job and my weekly rate went up subsequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was purely like a agent, managerial manager, or a career move in terms of the financials. Okay, the cheetah made like 10 million. When I Shrunk the Kids made over 100 million. But I had a great time in Africa. I got to work with live cheetahs, rhinos, hippos, lions, elephants, all of the animals, local, African, Tanzania, Kenya animals. Except the cheetahs, they were trained animal actors from San Fernando Valley, flown out. But it was great.
No, as long as the experience was great, then it's really you're not really losing out then.
Not really what?
If the experience was great, then you're not really losing out on anything.
No, I would have been stuck on a sound stage covered in slime, trying to find the eyeline for Auntie. And I love the adventure I had on Cheetah. I turned 18 on the set the day we flew in to Lake Naivasha, this little crescent island in the middle of a freshwater lake with flamingos and hippos and flowers. It was where they shot Out of Africa.
Yes.
It was Meryl Streep's friend's house in Out of Africa. And we lived in tents for 4 of the weeks of shooting. We did a week in Nairobi at a nice hotel and everything.
It does sound like a fun experience, even if, shorter one, you got paid the same amount of money. You got to work with all those animals that there's no way you would go anywhere near in everyday life. So, yeah, why not?
And I got to provide a family film choice option that was rated G, while Batman 2, Batman Returns, with the Penguin, Lethal Weapon 2, it was a violent, bloody weekend.
Yeah.
And I very, very proud. We shot it for $1.5 million. Negative pickup to Disney for $3 million. It made $10 million. Everyone was happy.
As long as everyone's happy.
And we just recently reconnected with Amy O'Neill, who I do not think I kissed during the screen test. No.
Why?
I remember Penny Perry. Penny. What was her name?
Perry's the casting director.
Right. No, Penny. There were certain 17-year-old-ish girls at the time that were like breaking in Hollywood. Amanda Peterson, that kind of stuff. Crazy.
But also bringing up that was kind of like, a violent time, like in cinema. I'm going to go on to what I watched last night. You probably saw I tagged you when it was watching Toy Soldiers, which was something that's been, I've always had this love. Me and my brother have always loved it, but yet we found it was such an underviewed movie here. So it wasn't until I was in my 20s, people had actually gone, oh yeah, I watch it. Where were you in primary school? I gotta talk to you about it.
I love toy soldiers. Every kid 18 to 22 was dying to get on Taps. What else did we rip off? Red Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh my god, this is great. Helicopters, machine guns, and rockets, and terrorists. And so what was great was everyone was working out and pumping up and like shaving their chest and wearing like white beaters to the audition. I went up for the nerd. I went up for Snuffy. He had like allergies to grass. So I got to just be a schlump and go to the audition. And I was cast first. Me and Lou Gossett were cast first. And Lou Gossett couldn't do the reads for the final round of auditions. So Dame Petrie Jr. asked me to come in, and I read opposite everyone reading for the leads of Toy Soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And in walks family, Adam's family, Sean Astin, and friends since we were in diapers because of my grandfather, Uncle Fester, his father, Gomez. And Sean was the best. He cried. He was Billy Tepper, perfect. And so the five of us wound up for 3 months, Charlottesville, Virginia. Will Wheaton, I think I've worked with him 3 times. Tales from the Crypt, Python, which is a 130-foot snake movie, and Toy Soldiers. And we had a blast. We lived at a Days Inn hotel, and the guys would all work out and everything, and I'd be like eating garbage, and yeah, it's good times.
Well,
And they called during rehearsals. We had 1 week of rehearsal, which once again is rare. I think only Adventures in Babysitting and Toy Soldiers ever had official rehearsal days. Cousins did dinner that we all just sat around and talked and got to know each other, but it wasn't like paid as a rehearsal. With Toy Soldiers, we got to do all of the like guy scenes in the room, stuck in the room with Yogurt and the other kid. And it moves, it builds. And I love Toy Soldiers. Get to the end, the last 10, 15 minutes, absolutely on the edge of your seat. The music, the things are, it's great. And it's gross. There's headshots and the brains, and it's great. Hard R. It's the last of the 90s hard R movies.
Because I'm thinking, could you make something like that now? Because it was having teenagers with such like violence. Like there's a lot of squibs going off. Obviously, you said, as you said, the headshot as well. We were tougher kids. We could watch tougher things back then.
Could you make a movie about terrorists coming over a porous border, U.S. border, killing Border Patrol guards, taking over a school of children? No. As a matter of fact, that was about the time that they stopped using children and women as hostages, plot points. By the time True Lies came out in 94, and James Cameron hung Eliza Dushku off the wing of a Harrier jet.
Yeah.
He was being ironic. He was saying, do you remember when we dangled kids and used them as like the plot point? Eliza Dushku can take care of herself.
Oh, yes. I will say I did relate to your character quite a bit in that movie because I also have asthma. And
right
when he faked the asthma attack, I'm like, oh, I could use that in the future if I need to. And you taught me how to do have fake asthma.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I didn't study. I didn't know. I guessed. But it was funny at dailies. Stephanie, who was Mark Berg, was the assistant to the producer. She said she was in dailies, and she said she had to leave the theater during the screening while I was choking. And she goes, that was pretty good. That kind of triggered an attack. So I triggered an asthma attack in the producer's assistant. And Andrew Devoff looked at me and he goes, if I don't believe you, I'll stop the scene. You'll cut. So I had to convince the bad guy that I was really having an asthma attack.
See, that's strange because I know you can make it like a yawns are contagious. I never heard of an asthma attack sounding contagious too and causing someone else to have one.
It could trigger the anxiety that
Ah, I've never actually
trigger
had
it.
one, so at least I can say that.
The terrorists kidnapped us one by one. At the end of each day of filming, they'd approach one of the main kids. They said, "Hey, full terrorist trench coaches, the whole trench coats, the whole thing." And they say, "Hey, instead of riding back in the crew van, 40-minute ride back to Charlottesville, come with us. We get the Cadillac, the thing we're renting." So as soon as you got in the car, they would take you around back behind the school, order you out of the car and on your knees. Get on your knees. Every other kid in the cast went, "Come on, quit screwing around. Oh, that's funny. Ha ha ha." Me, I hit the deck. "Oh God, please don't kill me. Oh man, please." And they went, "Get up. You're the only one that played ball." And so you pretend you're held hostage. I panicked, I stressed. And the extras, the backgrounds, they used real kids that were at the school, locals. And they really fell into it. There's scenes where we're all held hostage in the main room, and Andy and Luis Cali's walking around and yelling at us, and they are exhibiting like PTSD and trauma. Like we knew it was a fun action movie. We didn't take it too seriously, and it kind of pissed off Jerry Orbach, who's uncredited. If you notice, Jerry Guys and Dolls. What was it on LA Law or NYPD
Law
Blue?
and Order.
Law and Order, that's it. Legend.
Yeah.
He said, "Take my name off the credits. You're making fun of the mafia and the thing." And they went, "It's camp. You're sports. We're making it's not, they're caricatures." Like, what kind of kid has a mistake with a machine gun? I'll show him a mistake. It was, and he said, "Take my name off the credits." So that was kind of sad. I wish before he passed, I hope we were making something that was a little more aware that it was a campy 80s Rambo style teenage action movie.
So being that you've known Sean since you were a kid, what was it like to finally get to work beside him?
Fun. Same with Christina. I was friends with her before we'd made the film. Same with Chris Young. I was friends with him before we did Book of Love. And you just roll into it. You know them. You know the relationship. I always admired all the leads. I worked with John Cryer, Christina, Elizabeth Shue, Ted Danson. They be on set and you're hustling. You're a supporting character. So for me, it'd be a lot of exposition and funny dialogue and like physical comedy. And the leads just kind of exist. And you go, well, what do they do? I don't know what they're doing. And then you watch the movie come together and they're on it. They're exactly where the audience needs to be. And apparently from the box office, the cheetah, that is a skill I lack. You can't steal the scene if you're in every scene. So I love supporting the leading players and getting my laughs.
So that was a full circle moment for you getting to work with Sean. As you said, your grandfather worked with his father on the Addams Family. And also, it wasn't until Registered Babysitting you actually started using the name Coogan because you were going by Keith Mitchell. And it was actually like a really sweet reason why you took on Coogan. And that was because your grandfather had passed.
Yeah, he passed in 84 when I was 14. And I'd spent a lot of time with him. He taught me how to play chess and how to be careful of mothers and watch my money. And I worked under my grandfather's labor law. And when he passed, I had been working under Mitchell because my mom didn't want me to be cast just for being Coogan.
Yeah.
And half the people knew who it was anyway. And half the people were like, "Oh, Jack." And the other half were like, "Oh, Jack." I don't think it really helped or hurt. But nepotism, very true. I think that if your grandfather made shoes, you might know something about shoes and how you make a sole and where the leather comes from and how the stitching goes. And so he was very proud of working with Chaplin. many greats, Wallace Beery and Lon Chaney and uh, Lucy and Jack Benny. It was Red Skelton. He took it very seriously. He took his comedy very seriously. He told me, he only taught me stuff not about the bits that I could pick up from him and his like kind of vaudeville friends that would hang around and doing old bits in front of us, but he would say, show up on time, be prepared, know your lines, don't make a fuss on set, don't, you're a kid, no one wants to listen to you anyway. He did teach me you might see something. I'd already worked a bit. I did 100 commercials, 53 TV shows, about 80 hours of television before Adventures of Babysitting. And he said, if you see something, whatever, speak up, stand in the middle of the set, raise your voice. Hey, can't put the camera there. There's a reverse shot. You're going to paint yourself in the corner. You need to start over here. You can crane down, maybe light it from this way. Save us time. We'll be out by lunch. Fuck this 8-year-old know about lighting. But it would work. Matter of fact, I was on Chips, one of the last episodes of Chips, directed by John Astin. And we're little Chips Brat Patrol, like mini Chips CHP things. And we get to this last car wash scene that's going to have the like freeze frame credits over. And I go, you should light it here and like, you know, have them all lined up there with the cars. And John Astin goes, why don't you direct the scene? And I went, okay. So I directed a scene from Chips.
That's so cool. At 8 years old.
And Sean and I had a production company. We shot shorts, wedding videos. We even got silk jackets, little.
See, but when it comes to using your grandfather's name, now I seem to find people, they want fame for not doing much, where I find that with you using your grandfather's name and saying he's the original child star, you're paying tribute to him. You're not going like, well, I'm related to him, so I'm important. You're saying this was a man, this man was Hollywood. He's responsible for every kid in Hollywood having their Coogan accounts. He is responsible for these things. You pay tribute to your grandfather by taking his name.
Yeah, I thought that if I ever hit it big, because I wanted to do movies since about 8, when there was a screening of The Kid in LA, and I kind of understood who my grandfather was. They talked big game until I saw the movie and saw how all the other adults in town were treating him. I went, oh, they're not lying. Okay, he was a big deal. And his stories of like Betty Grable and the World Wars and all this stuff. You know, all grandpas have stories, but to know that a lot of people knew his story and grew up with him or watched him grow up. And I did the same thing. I grew up on television. You can watch me from age 5 through commercials and TV and movies to now. You can watch me all 48 years of my career. There's a nice little gap though when I was telemarketer. That was rough. He never took good or bad. He was like a pure artist. He was born in a trunk in vaudeville, and it was all about the stage and entertaining the crowd. So if someone could, oh, we love you, Uncle Fester, and over here you go, oh, okay, thanks. We go, Jack, they love you. They're a fan. And he goes, well, if you take the good, then you got to take the bad. And don't read your own reviews. It's subjective. You make them laugh, doesn't care what that says. And so then that's satisfying enough for an artist or someone who likes to make shoes. If it's good, client's happy. You know, it's tough though for those around a starving artist that you gotta pay the bills. You gotta, you know, the world turns. And so he was insightful about that. For me, he did instruct me younger that Hollywood is cyclical. You'd be big up one day, then down, and then series canceled. Then you're back up. Then you got a remake. Then a thing. And America loves a comeback. They love a second act.
Yeah.
They love people reinventing P.T. Barnum's. And you can change your name. You can have a fresh start. So yeah, changing my name at 16. We actually retroed. about, I would think it was the screen test of Adventures of Babysitting, and Silver Spoons was about to air, and I'd done it under Keith Mitchell, and we called production and said, could we change the name of the credit to Keith Coogan? So I think Silver Spoons was my first Coogan credit, and then Growing Pains and Just the 10 of Us.
Well, that's all I have for you today, Keith. Like, I really, really appreciate that you took your time.
I've rambled on and on.
I go on tangents all the time, so I'm more than happy to listen to someone go on a tangent. And also, I got to speak to Keith Coogan. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Nothing. Right. Come to Sony studio tours. Chances are you'll get me as a guide.
Oh, that'll be amazing. If I can get back to LA, I'll be like, message, guess what, Keith, I'm here.
Well, Sony used to be the MGM Studios, where my grandfather had a 2-year contract, did 4 pictures for Louis B. Mayer. And we have a street named after him across the street from my work. I like to tell my guests that. I go, my family worked here 100 years ago when it became MGM. But I'm like, yeah, I know where the bodies are buried. And I do. And show folk, I grew up, they were very broken people. A lot of addiction and alcoholism and kind of a gallows humor of just taking on the chin to be an artist. But I think you can commoditize it. It's a business. It is show business. Mm-hmm. It's entertainment industry. And know your worth. Take Cheetah over Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. My grandfather said, you don't want to get hot because then you can go cold. Mm-hmm. Just be warm. And he was a character actor, and I like to follow in his footsteps. And I thank you for the time, and thank you guys for watching, and thanks for the love of the some of the good movies and all of the bad ones I made.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate you do this. Just like, subscribe, do all those good things, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.